bring Hexa to Japan.
Thank you.
Hexa has 18 electric motors, so highly redundant. It can lose multiple motors during flight. It also has a ballistic parachute in the center in case of a catastrophic emergency. Jace can tell you more about piloting Hexa.
It's incredibly simple. It's designed to be very simple for anyone to learn to fly. In the United States, right now we're offering paid flights. People book a flight, they come and visit us at our location in Austin, and they spend about 1 hour doing training, about 30 minutes of classroom training, where they learn what the aircraft does and how to do it. And then we put you in a VR simulator where you practice flying before you ever get on the aircraft. And then you go out and get to fly Hexa for the very first time by yourself after 1 hour of training. The controls are that easy to learn, and there's so much built into the computers of this aircraft that it can assist you and protect you and make flight easy to learn and be safe in that way. All the controls are right here on this one joystick. You saw me let go of the joystick during flight, and the aircraft flies itself until you give it a command. Go forward, go backwards, go left and right, up and down with your thumb on the front, and then on here, move your nose to the right and to the left. That's it. 3 buttons: take off, land, and return to home. That's all the controls there is to learn to use Hexa. Very simple.
Now we're going to pick someone from the audience to fly. Who wants? No, I'm kidding.
Soon.
I wish next time.
Soon.
Maybe
But
next
how
year.
will this protect from rain?
Next year, yes.
Like how the person will get protected from rain?
In adverse conditions.
Yeah, that's a good question. So this aircraft is generally designed to be flown in fair weather. So it is tolerant to rain, but as you see, there's no doors on the side. So that's to keep the weight of the aircraft down and to give the pilot incredible visibility. Part of what this aircraft is for is to enjoy the feeling and the thrill and experience of just piloting, right?
Okay.
So having the doors off and feeling the wind is a part of that experience.
Nice.
Okay, so this is not for commercial purpose, right?
Any other
Day-to-day.
questions? Come
Weight
on.
is
What-
very important. Not mention not having doors as a part of keeping the weight down. The regulations that we operate under in the United States have a very specific weight limit for us. But under that weight limit, you can fly in the United States without a pilot's license, which is a very big thing for us if we want to take anybody to come and teach them to fly without having to have that training of a pilot's license.
How much does it cost?
Keeping the weight down is very important to what we do. All the structures are made out of carbon fiber. That helps keep our weight down. A lot of innovative materials go into this. Of course, 3D printed plastics, 3D printed metal pieces, 3D printed titanium is actually featured in the aircraft in several locations in order to keep the weight down, the strength very high so that it's a very safe and strong aircraft.
How are we charging the batteries? Like, is there any solar panel or something?
Great question. So each motor has its own small battery pack that you saw us remove over there. So the batteries charge on a charger off the aircraft. That allowed us to take a lot of the weight of the charging equipment. It doesn't fly with the aircraft. It also allows for redundancy. If you have a battery fail, you only lose one motor and the thrust from one propeller. So the aircraft easily flies with one motor out and multiple motors out also. So
we have a video on YouTube where we did the first manned motor out test. We put one of our pilots on board and intentionally stopped a motor in flight. You can see what that looks like and see how the aircraft handles that very easily. That's the redundancy that was designed into that. And then the last thing I think about the batteries is that by having the batteries removed, place another set of batteries on and fly immediately.
Yeah.
You saw how quick they came off. They go right back up, and the aircraft takes off again.
Yeah.
So it makes it very easy to keep the bird in the air.
The batteries charge in about 30 to 40 minutes.
Each
So we-
battery. It takes 30 to 40
It takes
minutes.
30 to 40 minutes to recharge the batteries. See how loud that thing is?
Yeah.
Much quieter.
Very good.
But in order to save that charge time, we charge off the aircraft. So each aircraft that we fly has 3 sets of batteries that are continuously charging.
Charge.
And then we swap them in less than 5 minutes, and the next flight
Okay.
begins.
How much does it cost? The price of this vehicle?
The price of the aircraft, we're not selling the aircraft. It's a
Okay.
very expensive piece of machinery. About 3 to 500,000 US dollars. So our business is not to sell these. Very
Okay.
few people could afford. We sell flights.
Flights.
So you train, you fly. A flight starts at about 250 US dollars.
Okay. Nice.
Okay.
And that's happening now in Austin, Texas.
We are the first company in the world to launch pay-per-flight in this type of aircraft, electric vertical takeoff and landing. We've been doing that for 5 months now.
Please come to Japan.
So what are your
Please come to
plans
Japan.
for Japan then?
What's that?
What are your plans for Japan?
We hope to launch our business here. We partnered with Marubeni Corporation, Marubeni Aerospace, and need some regulatory approvals from JCAB in Japan. And once we have those, we hope to launch here so anyone can come out and enjoy flying.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an age limit for driving?
The question was, is there an age limit for flying this aircraft? The answer is legally in the US, no age limit for Part 103, but our company has an age limit of 18 years old to fly. But you know, we could potentially lower that as we build more experience. Yeah.
How long can you fly?
The flight time in this aircraft is really up to 15 minutes. It depends on the pilot's weight, the temperature. You saw this flight was probably 7 or 8 minutes. A typical flight is probably 8 to 12 minutes. So it's very short flight, but it can take off and land anywhere. So, you know, we see this being used in the future for short distance urban transportation. Fly from like one building rooftop to another building rooftop instead of getting stuck in traffic right on the ground. The battery energy density is continuously improving. There are new battery technologies that can extend that flight time. Yes, that we're exploring different batteries.
And as you saw, since the batteries are not integrated to the aircraft, we're in a very good position to accept any changes to battery technology as they externally mount. We can just change that setup and go to new tech as that becomes available. Good question.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Great questions.
Thank you.
Does anyone here fly small drones? Does anyone have a small DJI drone? Yes. Yeah. It's kind of hard to fly, right? Because you have 2 joysticks, and aircraft is much easier to fly. Yes.
You have a plan to make a vehicle to like a 2-man crew or 4-man crew or something like
That's a
that?
great question. So this is a single seat aircraft. That's part of the regulations that we fly under in the US is for ultralight aircraft. So they're limited to 1 seat. The next class up from that is called light sport aircraft. That's allowed 2 seats. And the FAA in the US has just updated the rules to allow electric vertical aircraft in the light sport category. So that's going to sort of open up this type of aircraft for 2 seats. But, you know, much like, you know, taking an e-scooter or an e-bike out for a spin, 2 people can fly simply in 2 different aircraft. Right?
And you each get to fly.
And you each get to fly.
That's half the fun.
Double the
right?
fun. Right. Good question.
Okay.
Is
Any
there
other
any weight limit of the person also?
Yeah, you know, we right now I think the weight limit we're using is 235 pounds, which is about 100
Kilograms.
ish kilos.
Okay.
But in theory, we can increase that weight limit as you increase the payload of the aircraft. You sort of decrease the redundancy of the motors because it takes more thrust. And you shorten the flight time. The flight time is very weight dependent. So we like people to have a long flight time.
This aircraft was highly optimized to operate under the ultralight aircraft rules in the United States because we've been at this for 6 years and the rules have just started to change to make some of these next level improvements possible. So we built the aircraft around what was available at the time instead of waiting for future legislation that may or may not happen.
One last question.
さっき飛んでたヘリコプターに沈んだんですね。あの動作ので飛んでるのとこの近さで飛んでるのでかなり近い。
How did you bring it from the US to here?
This one flew by air in a cargo aircraft. This top section we call the crown, where all the motors and propellers are. Each arm actually pops out and folds down,
Oh,
and it can fit in the cargo hold of an aircraft or in an ocean container. So that's how we
Okay.
transport around, or in a truck, the back of a
Yes.
traditional truck.
So you can dismantle the upper part only, right?
It actually
folds,
down,
tatami.
stays
Folds down.
Yeah.
still as kind of one piece to the main aircraft. However, it is very modular at the same time. So the whole top section can actually detach, and we can actually fit different lower sections on. We have a version of this aircraft that is actually built around cargo, and so there's no joystick, no cabin, just landing gear where you put a pallet that you might want to move goods from one place to another. So the aircraft is modular, 3 different sections: the gear, the cabin, and the crown.
Okay.
Nice.
Maximum speed. We've flown the aircraft in unmanned tests up to 40 miles per hour. I'm not sure the conversion. I'll let you work on that.
64.5 kilometers.
And by design, it's capable of faster speeds. We just haven't tested it.
Yeah. So most of the folks who've come to us so far, we've only had a few repeat folks.
Yeah.
But they're all beginners who are really interested, and so we keep the speeds about what you saw here today, so they get introduced to the aircraft.
With more experience, more flights, you get to unlock higher altitudes. Like we call this beginner mode, right? And then we have intermediate and advanced and expert mode at some point where you
We'll
can
get
do
there.
acrobatics, right?
I don't know about that. We'll get there.
So at some point you are thinking of selling these like advanced module or something?
You know, as we scale our manufacturing, we could bring the cost down to a point where it might be feasible for individual ownership, but we believe kind of in the sharing economy, right? You know, these, you're not going to be flying this every day.
Yeah.
So you may as well let us manage and maintain the fleet, and you just come to a place that we control and just take a flight. So
Work your way up, learning more advanced maneuvers with our instructors. So if you come to Austin, Texas, you might get instructed by me in your flight. But we're building a group of instructors who can walk those beginner pilots through that first session, teach them the maneuvers, and as we continue to grow and advance the capabilities of the aircraft, they'll be teaching more advanced maneuvers to people. We can think of even including things like a point-to-point mission as a part of a maneuver. We've envisioned things like racing 2 hexas against each other at the same time. So the possibilities as we continue to grow into this, there's a lot to be gained out of the capabilities of this aircraft.
Is there already allowed flight in the city in the United States?
good question. Yeah, Part 103, the ultralight rules require flight to be over uncongested areas only for now. right? Because you don't have a pilot's license. So you can be near a city, like of course like here, and you can fly over the water, but not dense urban areas like a city. That would require that next level of airworthiness certification that I've mentioned, light sport, and that may require a pilot's license too. So we're going to work our way up to that.
And regulations for automated flying and things like that are still up and coming, which may allow for kind of autonomous transportation using a vehicle like this. Those rules, as they come into existence in the U.S., we don't have to wait on those to do what we're doing today. But when those do come through, we're in a position to take advantage of that to increase our capabilities and our offerings.
We consider Hexa to have a high degree of automation, but not fully autonomous because the regulations don't really support that. So you're the pilot inside, you're the pilot in command, you control it with the joystick, but we have a lot of highly automated maneuvers. You saw Jace, takeoff, land is automated, return to home, and we can do waypoint flights or formation type flights under sort of automations, but always with the pilot to be able to take control. And if the batteries, for example, get low, you have an automation that will automatically return to home. The aircraft knows how much energy is left in the batteries, and we don't want people to go too far and get stranded and not be able to get back. So it'll automatically come back home, and it can automatically land if it senses it's not going to make it back home, for example. So, and it can land on water too. We talked about these are floats to be able to fly over water and land on water.
Amazing.
Nice. Just last question. How high it can fly?
You know, I would say that's limited probably by the flight time of the aircraft and by regulation.
Most circumstances, you will run out of power before you can reach the service ceiling of the aircraft. Chief engineer, the number is 10,000 feet. I'll wait for conversion. 10,000 feet density altitude. So that's very high.
Okay.
But regulations typically limit this to uncontrolled airspace, which is usually from the ground up to about 1,200 feet, depending on what's over you. Right here, we're very close to the controlled airspace for Haneda Airport.
Yeah.
So we're just outside that. So it is uncontrolled airspace, but maybe all the way up to like 700 or 1,200 feet.
Did you get some special permission for this event to fly?
Yes, we did. You can talk about that.
This is a special certificate and approval by JCAB, Japan Civil Aviation Bureau, for demonstration only, for not the commercial operation, but demonstration.
JCAB does have an ultralight class under 1007 rules. You should write JCAB and tell them you want Hexa to come to Japan.
Yes. Definitely.
No, they've been very supportive and wonderful about this new technology.
Trying to same approval to get from JCAB, or 2025 when Expo will be held.
We would like to launch, flights for you all next year at Osaka Expo.
Wow. Thank you.
Sorry, say again.
Production capability and capacity.
Oh, good question. Oh, you must be a manufacturing. Yeah, it's okay. We can produce about 2 aircraft per month with our current. We have a partner who supports that, and we have a fleet of 16 fully complete aircraft and actually over 30 that are in the assembly process. We're scaling our manufacturing, but starting slowly, and we'll grow as we grow locations. And we need to open locations where people can come fly. So we have right now. I think we have one of the largest fleets of eVTOL aircraft in the world. 16 in service.
今ちょっとゆっくりまで作ってるんで、開発してるので、16機のような開発ですけど、使えるもので、どんどん増やしていきます。ありがとうございます。
30 or 40 minutes, minimum to charge the batteries. But we charge the batteries off the aircraft, so it takes only 5 minutes to swap the batteries. So you take off the old batteries and put on fully charged. So you can operate the aircraft almost continuously. All right, great
Thank
question.
you.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank
was a
you.
nice demo.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
hope we get